This is the 2018 Mercedes-Benz S560 extended wheelbase. Yes, this is the Big Daddy, the king of the hill of Mercedes-Benz sedans. It's got a lovely V8 engine under the hood, 20-inch wheels, miles of Nappa leather, and comes standard with a smug sense of superiority. There's a lot to get to with this vehicle, so go ahead and get comfortable. Can we talk about how this thing looks for a minute? Because I am a huge sucker for the full-size luxury sedan. I've always loved them, and I've always thought the S-Class has been a leader in the looks department. And I know a lot of people aren't huge on this car because it looks pretty conservative, but that's exactly what I like about it. I think this is the best expression of the current Mercedes-Benz design language. It's weighty, it's substantial, it's very, very understated, especially if you don't equip the vehicle with the AMG appearance package, but it has a certain elegance to it. It's so classy to me. I don't think you can get classier than this S560. In this particular spec, it's got a sort of kind of blue, kind of black color to it with a bit of sort of a gray hue almost. I'm not a huge fan of that. I wouldn't pick that, but it doesn't look half bad. And it's also got the AMG appearance pack, which to me would be an automatic yes. It gives it a completely different front and rear bumper treatment. Just makes it a lot more aggressive than the standard S-Class out the door. Now for 2018, you really need to be an S-Class aficionado to see the differences, especially on the outside between the outgoing model. Really subtle tweaks to bumpers, headlights, things like that. But overall, it just comes together so nicely. And of course, all that sophistication and presence on the exterior is only amplified in here with this absolutely stunning cabin. Now, if you cast your memories back a few years when this generation of S-Class was first debuted, it was a game changer, and one of the ways it changed the game was with the interior. At the time, it really left the competition in a trail of dust, and it was just because of the design, the good use of materials, and the integration of these insane 12.3-inch infotainment screens into the cabin in a way that was really seamless and just looked absolutely stunning. So we still have that on this refreshed 2018 model. The only major change is they've now gone to, in my opinion, a much more attractive and more traditional three-spoke steering wheel. They used to have that two-spoke wheel design, which I was never a fan of. That was the one part of this car where I thought, that's a bit try-hard. Now, another nice touch is this center console storage area. So let's say you're driving down the road in your S560 and suddenly you decide that you need your MasterCard or your tablet or your bag of loose diamonds or Rolex or whatever regular thing that you would have in here. All you do is, like every other car, press the button and it flips up. It's hinged on the right side. Let's say that your passenger has to do the same. They want to grab their bag of loose diamonds or Rolex. Well, there's a button on their side, and all they need to do is press that, and suddenly it's double hinged. So I don't know how that works, but it's pretty cool. We can't talk about this cabin without addressing these seats because they're amazing. I'm 6'2" tall. I'm not sure I've ever been more comfortable in a vehicle before. There's an infinite level of adjustability in these seats. There are a ton of different massage functions and presets. They're heated and ventilated, obviously, and they seem to heat up like that. And what's interesting is the armrests, the center console, and the armrests in the back, along with the seats in the back, are all heated as well. So it's a pretty comfy place to be if you wake up and you want to take your S-Class for a drive on a crispy morning. The big party piece of this interior, the wow factor, these two 12.3-inch monitors, the left side doing traditional gauge duty, the right side doing everything an infotainment system does. So media, radio, navigation, vehicle options, system options, and so on. And it does the trick largely. It's controlled by Mercedes-Benz Command System, which is inexplicably spelled with one M, but nonetheless, it does the trick. I will say I believe that BMW's iDrive is a superior system, and I know a lot of people love Audi's MMI, but having used Command a lot over the past few years because I drive a C-Class, I will say you get used to some of the idiosyncrasies and all the powers there. It's just a simple matter of learning the navigation. It's not the most intuitive system, and on this vehicle, the big problem is the sheer number of options that are available to you. You can customize everything. There's 64 different LED lights that you can choose from, different lighting patterns, different HVAC settings, whether you want it to blow strong or wisp on you. There's air ionizer settings. There's a million different seat settings, all of which are controlled in the command unit. You've got to be 2 or 3 menus deep to change your lumbar support. It's complicated. A lot of these settings are absolutely impossible to use while you're driving. And if I think about the average buyer for one of these things, somebody like my dad, mid-60s, he is going to be super confused just trying to adjust his lumbar support. The very first thing you notice when you get into this vehicle and start rolling down the road is just how remarkably quiet it is. It's eerily quiet. Everything is so well insulated. You feel like you're completely detached from the road, which is exactly what you expect, exactly what you want from a vehicle like this. Now, this is a big car. It's 4,700 pounds in its current configuration. Just to give you some context, Honda Civic Type R, a tiny little featherweight, is about 3,000 pounds, and a fully loaded C43, so the C-Class from Mercedes, is about 3,900 pounds. So there's some girth to carry around with this vehicle, and that's good because there is a 4-liter twin turbocharged 8-cylinder engine with 463 horsepower and 516 foot-pounds of torque. And when you put your right foot into it, it has effortless speed. I just hit go to jail numbers on an on-ramp. This thing is never lacking in power and low-end grunt, and turbo lag is something that doesn't exist when you drive the S560. The most remarkable thing about this is it gets up to speed so rapidly, so quickly, but you're so detached from the engine. Everything has been designed to take the excitement out of it. You hear the engine, it's got a nice engine tone to it, there's zero exhaust, and the tone that you get from the engine seems like it's 25 feet in front of you. That's how well insulated it is. In the Canadian market, your only option is 4MATIC all-wheel drive. There's no such thing here as a rear-wheel drive S-Class, and all 516 foot-pounds of torque are being delivered by way of a brand new 9-speed transmission. The outgoing model was a 7-speed. This new 9-speed unit is a proprietary Mercedes-Benz unit. It's not outsourced like a lot of the competition, and it debuted for the first time in the E-Class. Now, I've driven that vehicle many times. It's a great unit there, and they've packaged it up wonderfully here. You forget that there is a transmission. It's programmed to be smooth. There's paddle shifters here that aren't all that responsive, but frankly, you see them, you use them once, you know they're there, and then I would never use them again. That's not what this car is about. In day-to-day driving, everyday conditions, it's a fantastic unit. Another area where this S-Class absolutely obliterated the competition when this generation was launched was in the area of safety features and autonomous driving technology. Nobody else could compete. Now, since then, BMW and especially Audi have kind of upped the ante yet again. So for the 2018 model, Mercedes-Benz has put their absolute best into it. So everything's been refined. And there is everything you'd expect, right? There is lane departure assists and various alarms and cameras everywhere that tell you when you're going to run into something. But there's also an autonomous driving feature, which is pretty good. And I'm saying pretty good because, well, I'll get to that in a second. But first, let me show you how it works. All you have to do is activate your radar-guided cruise control, which is one of the better systems that I've used. I'm using it right now. And then you press this little button to the left of the steering wheel. It's the shape of a steering wheel. Curiously, it's the shape of the old outgoing 2-spoke steering wheel rather than the new design, but nonetheless, we'll touch that. And then you'll see a little green button pop up on your dashboard and a green light up here in your heads-up display. And it's 2 hands on a steering wheel, and then you let go. So, assuming you are on a well-lit, well-marked road that's relatively straight, or if it's curved, there's only mild curves, this will do the trick. However, when I said it's pretty good, it's not amazing. To me, it's not good enough. It's telling me to put my hands back on here. You have to touch the steering wheel every, let's say, 10 to 15 seconds. It's not good enough that this is something you would rely on day to day. It's something that you can use in a pinch if you need to. It works wonderfully in stop-go traffic, so this will bring you to a complete stop where you can stand indefinitely, and then it'll start you back up again. A lot of systems will cancel themselves out after a couple seconds of coming to a complete stop. That said, it does ping-pong ever so slightly, and it has a feature this year where it will turn into the opposite lane for you if you want, so it uses its radar system to detect other objects, and all you have to do to activate the system is to put your indicator on. So I'll try to demonstrate it here for you today. So I have got it's asking me to put my hands on the steering wheel. Okay, I'm going to turn left. It's looking around me, and I'm being turned into the lane, and all I do is cancel the indicator, and that's it. Pretty impressive stuff, but right now, I'm ping-ponging a bit. So a bit of an unnatural activity here, not perfect, not entirely human-like, so I think they do need a little bit more work to make this more of an everyday thing that you rely on, whereas right now it still seems like something you'd use occasionally or if you want to show off to your passengers. Now, every single S-Class sold today comes with a standard self-leveling air suspension. So what does self-leveling mean? Well, I put it to good use. The first day I picked this car up, I had 3 friends in the back. And what that'll do is automatically sense the load in your trunk or in the back or on the left side versus the right, and it will automatically level it. It also contributes to such a wafting sort of personality as you go down the highway. It eliminates all of the junctions, all the gaps in the concrete and the small potholes, and it just kind of eliminates them. It is really remarkable, so comfortable, so sophisticated, and just works perfectly for the character of this vehicle. Oh, and of course I have to mention that there's a really complicated system that's currently scanning the road in front of me and detecting any potholes, bumps, undulations in the road and automatically adjusting the dampers to best suit the needs of the vehicle at that particular point. This is remarkable stuff. There's also a system that's going to automatically angle the vehicle into the corner up to 2.5 degrees just to make it ever so slightly more comfortable for the driver and for the occupants in the vehicle. Also new this year, integrated into the radar guided cruise controls, a system that uses your GPS coordinates and radar sensors around the vehicle to detect corners and adjust your speed accordingly. Now, this doesn't really work around town. However, on the highway, if you're going from one highway to another and you've got an on-ramp that slows you down from, let's say, 100 to 60, it will automatically detect that and slow you down. I've used it to great effect this week. It works really, really well, and it's just sort of that next level of technology that you come to expect in an S-Class. So how do I describe the handling dynamics of this S-Class? Well, I'm going to say this. The S-Class sets out to be a luxurious cruiser, and I think it achieves that. There are no illusions here that this is a performance car or that this is going to set a figure-8 record. However, there's a lot of electronic trickery and suspension trickery that can get you through a tight corner like this with ease. There's big honking tires with a ton of grip. The suspension, of course, is leaning us in and smoothing out all the bumps. There's an independent multi-link setup in the rear, but let's not kid ourselves. This is not a sports car. This is not a fun car to drive. This is a car that has the objective of wafting you down the road in absolute comfort and making sure that you, the buyer, doesn't need to deal with the inconvenience of bumps, of rattles, of squeaks. What is most impressive about it is around corners, it remains quiet. The feedback to the driver is minimal. The weighting is moderate. It's just what you need to place the front wheels and nothing more than that. I like it. I like it because it has a mission. It achieves that. It doesn't get distracted on the way by trying to be a sports car. It sets out to be a luxury vehicle. And when you get to your destination, that's exactly what it feels like. The S450, that's the entry-level trim powered by 362 horsepower biturbo V6, starts at $106,400. If you want that big V8, well, that'll be $115,200, please. And for my reasonably spec'd S560 extended wheelbase, that will set you back a cool $141,450 before taxes. The only nagging question in the back of my mind is this: is the S560 in this current spec worth $50,000 more than a fully loaded E-Class? Put another way, is it worth a fully loaded E-Class and a C300, or a Mustang GT or a Honda Civic Type R? That's an easier question to answer when it's in the hypothetical or when you're masquerading around town in a borrowed press vehicle. I will say this: I have not driven a car that more convincingly succeeds at what it was designed to do. If you can afford it, you can rest easy knowing that it doesn't get much better than this.